We knew her from Fox for a long time, but every single time we saw Judge Jeanine, she said, when I was a prosecutor, she's always been somebody who wanted to make safe and tranquil neighborhoods and wanted to keep us safe. She's now the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. It's Judge Jeanine Pirro. Judge, how are you? Good to see you, my friend.
I am great, thank you. I am in the District of Columbia, and let me say it is great to be with you again, Joe. I've missed you, and I'm glad to be able to talk with you today.
I missed you as well. Love you like crazy. I'm so glad that you're back in the job of stopping crime. You know, you did a great job on Fox, and you probably end up back over there at some point. But every time you said that, I turn to my wife and say, she needs to be out there stopping these criminals because I knew that you would do it. How do you get the call? How does this happen? Does the president call and say, Jeanine, I need you? Well, what happened? How do you get the job?
This is how it happens. So I'm working at Fox. I'm very happy. I have a great job, a lot of friends. I work for Suzanne Scott, who's a wonderful person, a wonderful CEO. And I get a call from Sergio Gore. And he said to me, he was in charge of the president's presidential appointments and is now, I believe, senators approved him to be the ambassador to India and all the Southeast extends and other extends and Uzbekistan and all that. So he said, the president's going to call you and he's going to ask you to be the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia. So I said, you know, there's this, you have like an angel on one shoulder, and devil on the other. The angel says, Jeanine, you can go back. You can be yourself again. The devil said, no, you need the money. And the angel says, Jeanine, you're going to feel great about yourself. You're going to be able to fight crime. The devil says, you know, you're not going to have hair and makeup, you dumb person. And so the president called. I didn't hesitate. I said, absolutely, Mr. President. And I'm delighted to be here. I'm here just 4 months now. And I must tell you, D.C. had the most violent homicide, the fourth highest homicide rate for murders in the country 2 years ago. And it has been pretty bad ever since. And when the president made a decision that he wanted to make D.C. safe and beautiful, I couldn't have been happier because it's about bringing law and order back. It's about making the people of the nation's capital feel safe, whether you live, work, or visit here. And it's about making sure that criminals are accountable because this place, I got to tell you, Joe, was a freaking mess.
No,
all right.
absolutely.
And I'm sure that people don't want me to say that, but I will tell you that it was.
Well, it certainly was, and everybody knew that it was. But what I wonder, and it's Judge Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, what I wonder is why did it get that bad? Do we know the mechanisms that were in place that allowed things to get so out of control? Murder rate through the roof, carjackings every other day. I had Mark Wayne Mullen on the other day, the U.S. Senator from Oklahoma, who said that he drives his Jeep with the door off because he knows he has to jump out of the car at any given second to stop a carjacking. So, I mean, how did it get like that? Why did it get so bad?
I'll tell you why it got so bad, okay? It got so bad because young people are allowed to commit crimes with impunity. It got so bad because there is something called the D.C. Council that passes the laws in D.C. that affect local court. And it got bad because the judges here are about as liberal as they come.
Yeah.
So let me explain something. This isn't just a federal prosecutor's office where we do federal crime and federal civil cases as well. My office is the only United States Attorney's office in the country that handles local crime. So I'm back to my DA roots.
Yeah.
And I've got a superior court section in addition to my federal section, which makes us the largest U.S. Attorney's office in the country. We do everything from petty crime in superior court to national terrorism crimes.
Right.
So, like, for example, we've got that Lockerbie case from Scotland, that Pan Am flight. That's coming up for trial in April. We've got all kinds of cases here. But what I've also got is local violent crime. And my job here was to make everyone understand that unless and until we make criminals accountable, unless and until we recognize that crimes are being committed by 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17-year-olds, we're going to be the victims of the D.C. sympathy and coddling. Give you an example, Joe. If a 17-year-old shoots them, bullet goes through them, but they don't die, I can't handle that case. I can only handle that case if there's a murder, a rape one, an armed robbery, or a burg one. All right. And so we are now fighting to change and to lower lower the age
Yeah.
because they raise the age of accountability. And I've got family court judges that think, oh, we'll get them into some kind of program. Well, if you know about that intern who was shot in D.C. in July, the intern from Massachusetts worked for the congressman from, I think it was Arkansas. Is it Arkansas? Right. He gets shot going out for food at 10:30 at night. He gets in between a gunfight. And those defendants that we found, along with the Metropolitan Police Department, they had a record in family court, Joe. I am not allowed to tell you what that record is, but I'm going to tell you that they are literally working their way up. And as soon as they hit 17, they commit murders. They go through that system and they get yoga and ice cream socials and all this crazy nonsense. And by the way, you remember Big Balls, the Doge person?
Yeah, absolutely.
The kid who got a fractured skull, severe concussion, a fractured nose, and he just got out. The two individuals, the 15-year-olds, they just got out. Okay. So there is no punishment for them. And my focus right now is to get them in the criminal court, get criminal records, and to make them the career criminals that they've already exhibited themselves to be. And also, I'm fighting with the D.C. Council. They give judges permission where there's mandatory minimum, Joe, a mandatory minimum of 5 years. If the defendant is under 25, the judges can say, I'm going to give you probation. So a 19-year-old goes on a bus, shoots another kid in the chest with an illegal gun in a public place with a family on that bus. And guess what? We convict them. It's not easy to convict in D.C. Very liberal juries here.
Yeah.
We convict them. You know what the judge gives this 19-year-old? Probation. Go to college.
Stunning.
2 years. Stunning. And my job is to criticize the judges, the system, the laws, and I'm good at that. And that's why I'm here. I'm going to try to make people accountable and to change it. And with President Trump, that's exactly what he's doing. He's giving us the federal resources in the surge, where as a result of the surge, homicides were down 53%, robberies are down 57%. We've got carjackings are down, violent crime down 39%.
Right.
I mean, huge difference because the president has made a decision to make D.C. safe, and that's what he's doing.
Judge Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. Yeah, I think carjackings are down almost 80%. So it's unbelievable the job that you're doing and that the president's doing because of the special purview that Congress has and the executive has over D.C. Can you change these rules that are clearly just a pathway to recidivism? These kids at 14, 15, 16 are committing heinous crimes that they should be charged as adults, but you can't do anything until they're 17 or 18. Can that be changed because of the oversight that Congress has and the president has?
Yeah, there's no question that in addition to trying to get the D.C. Council to repeal some of the laws, the absurd laws that they passed from the Youth Rehabilitation Act, which rehabilitation to them is letting them out of jail, to the Incarceration Reduction Act, which, lets them out of jail again. And now the record sealing, they call it second chance. If they want to seal all records, pretty much almost all records 5 years after the crime, which means if you're an employer and you want to find out whether or not someone has committed petty larceny or embezzlement or anything, you're blocked from getting that information. If you run a dance class for little kids, you're blocked from getting information on whether or not a pedophile is applying to conduct dance classes. And we need Congress, and the president is aware of that. And we have been working with the White House to get Congress to exercise its authority, because this is home rule right now, its authority to lower the age of responsibility to 14, 15, 16, 17, to increase the number of violent crimes under Title 16, which are the four that I just mentioned, to increase it to a whole panoply of additional crimes. Because I'm telling you, Joe, as sure as I'm standing here, they know they're not accountable. They know that they're not going to be punished. They come out in gangs or crews, as we call them, CREWS, in D.C., and they commit these crimes. Everybody's got a gun. I've got a federal judge who hasn't seen a young person with an illegal gun who doesn't think that, they should be able to have a gun. I got a federal judge that he and I are back and forth after each other all the time. It's a fight. And you know what? We're up for the fight because we're going to make it different here. And we've got to do it before 250 next year. And I hope to see you there on July 4th next year.
No, we would love to be there for sure. Washington is so much safer now than it was before the National Guard came in, before you came in. You've been dealing with these people, as you said, back and forth with one of these judges. But as you deal with the mechanism in place, the government in place, the council, the mayor, and so on, Judge, has anybody said anything to you that makes sense as to why they're allowing this? Because Muriel Bowser has come out a couple of different times. She was against it, then she was for it, then Trump, the citizen, before he was president, like D.C. She's trying to figure out politically where to come down on this. When you talk to people who are running that city and that ran it into the ground, have they given you anything that even gets close to being a valid reason as to why they don't want more safety and security and more prosecution of bad guys?
The only way I can answer that is by telling you that there are people who think that all fascists, anyone who has that label on them, deserve to be shot and killed. I mean, that's the world that we're living in right now. It is a mentality, Joe, that I don't understand. But what I can tell you is this. I decided to make friends with the mayor as soon as I got here. Okay. I decided to make friends with the chief judge as soon as I got here, with the chief of police. I need to work together with these people. I'm going to tell you something. You'd be surprised at the mayor where she's coming down now. And, my job right now is to try to work with her, and the administration is working with her, and she's come off a lot of the stances that she's taken in the past. And you'd be amazed at where she is right now in terms of crime. Good. And she won't go down to 14, I don't believe, but again, negotiations are constantly going on. But I think she realizes that there are things that we absolutely have to do in order to get this place safe again. And, and that's the only way to get things done. And we're getting it done, Joe. I'm telling you, we're going to get it done. Yeah. And that means you got to be smart, you got to be effective, and you got to be a fighter. And one of the ways of being smart is making sure you bring in all the stakeholders. Now, the D.C. Council, I got no use for them. One of them I have under indictment. I mean, every year they come up with more and more crazy things. There was one person on the council, Brooke Pinto, that I met with. I mean, she's great, but she's only one vote. Yeah. But when they come out with the lunacy, they have programs where if you've committed murder, you should be able to be one of the protectors on the street, and we should be able to give money to you to go make sure the streets are safe. I mean, who thinks of this stuff? I don't get it.
No, I'm with you. It's absolutely crazy. I'm so glad that you made relationships like you do. I know that you're a fighter, and you'll roll up your sleeves and fight these people if you have to, but it's much better to be on the same side. That makes a whole lot of sense. With the National Guard there, they're not going to be there forever. Do you think they need to stay? Is the Metro Police feeling emboldened now that they can do their jobs again because the council wasn't backing them up? Again, you lock somebody up and they're out, no cash later that day. Is the Metro Police realizing that you've got their back, the president has their back, and once the National Guard leaves, they can continue doing the good work that's been started?
It's a great question because I was at the White House yesterday and talking about this. The truth is that I used an old term because someone else had used an old term also. I said, I feel like they have their mojo back. Yes. Because now what we've got is the Metro Police who have been beat down by judges, beat down by juries, beat down by, Matthew Graves, the prosecutor before me. He had some crazy record where they didn't paper. That's what they call it. They didn't paper cases in 60 arrests in 60% of the cases. I'm over here I've got law enforcement's back. Yeah. And so they make an arrest. I'm doing everything I can to make that arrest go into court. But Washington is weird. I got to tell you that what they've got, Joe, is a system where police make an arrest. I literally have to get the judge's approval before I can actually file the charge. I'm like, I don't want to see this, Judge, until I go to court. Right. What do you mean I have to see a magistrate to get approval? What do you mean I have to get the judge's permission to file a charge? Well, if we want a warrant, we need. I said I don't want to see a judge until I'm at trial or motion practice. But those are the rules here, and that's what I live under. But the Metropolitan Police feel that with the surge of federal law enforcement, all our brothers and sisters in federal law enforcement, they feel like they can do their job again. But make no mistake, the D.C. Court of Appeals, which is the worst, it's the highest court of the local part, the DA part of my job. I mean, they got crazy stuff. Like, if you're in a high crime area and you run and act suspiciously and you cover your drugs or your gun with your coat in January, when you wouldn't take your coat off, that's just normal because that's how people react to police. And so the police end up doing that kind of crime and then getting told that we can't file because the courts have not allowed that kind of arrest.
That's
reasonable suspicion in D.C. is beyond what the Supreme Court has said. So we all follow Supreme Court decisions, but in D.C., they've got a whole new area where they say, oh, the Supreme Court's not enough. We're going to require the police to do this, this, and this, and you can't chase them, and you can't ask them questions. You can't touch them. It's crazy town. But we're working on it, Joe.
No, and you're doing a great job. It's Judge Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. Attorney for District of Columbia. Let me ask you about not papering, because that reminds me that there are allegations that there were people that weren't even saying that an assault was an assault. They were saying it was a simple battery. They weren't saying that a rape was a rape. It was somebody passed you in the street. They weren't saying that a carjacking was a carjacking. It was somebody touched my car by accident. It's a misdemeanor. So they were claiming that crime was down in D.C., and we all know that was a lie. When you say that you're not allowed to paper it, or they aren't papering it, does that mean they're literally not reporting crimes that were happening? That's why the numbers were faked down the way they were?
No, when I say not papering, I mean when the police have made an arrest and they bring it to me, I then have to get a judge's permission to bring it to court.
That's stupid.
I mean, think about that. No. I want to bring it to court, but now I need a judge. I don't need a judge, but here you do.
Yeah.
But you make reference to something that I cannot talk about, and you're talking about deflating numbers.
Right.
I cannot talk about that because that's something that I happen to be looking into.
Okay, well, very good. Well, then we're glad that you're looking. I'd rather you look into it than talk to me about it, to be honest. So we'll find out what happens at the end of that.
Yes.
Let's finish on D.C. this way. I know that there was a 17-year-old who allegedly shot an off-duty firefighter. Is that person going to be charged as an adult, or is that going to be expunged in a year?
That person is being charged as an adult. Nothing is going to be expunged. We made sure that with this firefighter, we brought the highest charges based upon the evidence, the facts, and the law. I was on the phone with him. I called his wife. I called the firefighters, the union. I am backing them the way I back police.
I love it.
We don't back the basic institutions, and we don't make sure that these young thugs are accountable, or punks, I should say, for what they do, then shame on us. You don't have to worry about that case. I'm all over that one, and everyone like it. And I don't care if you're a police officer or fireman, or if you're a grandmother, or if you're anybody. You don't deserve that. And it doesn't matter to me how old the person is behind the gun, or whether or not they've got, prefrontal lobe problems that aren't developed according to the left. I don't give a darn. You committed the crime. I'm going to go full hog on whatever the law is. And then when the law is not sufficient, we're fighting to change the law. Count on it.
Judge Jeanine Pirro, I do count on it. I know that you're going to do that. I quickly want to ask you about Charlie Kirk. I know that you knew Charlie. I knew Charlie. We were friends. Seeing this go down the way that it's gone down because of the horrible rhetoric of the left. What do you have to say about his life? Only 31 years in, but it looks like his movement is turning into a revolution.
Yes, it is. And that revolution is one of love and peace, where we're not burning down buildings and we're not starting fires and protesting and looting. None of that. We're responding to what happened to Charlie with love. You saw what happened. I was in Arizona for the memorial service. Everyone is, and everyone that I personally know who hasn't been that religious is all of a sudden buying a Bible, going to church. Charlie Kirk, to me, Joe, was a disciple. He was someone who went around and preached the way Jesus preached. He preached the way the apostles preached. And I see him in that regard. And, I was one of the first to say, I think we should have a Charlie Kirk Day, because I think we have not yet seen the impact of this incredible person. He was a savant, Joe. This man was brilliant. And his impact will go on for many, many, many years. And I think that Charlie was the most incredible, kind person. I had him on my show in 2014 and 15 when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I used to fight to get Charlie on my show because they were like, who is this kid? I said, he's brilliant. Well, he didn't go to college. He's brilliant. And I miss him, and we all miss him, but we will carry his legacy forward. Count on it.
I love that you said that. So well said. Let me leave you with this, and I hope that you can give me an opinion. In your position, I think you can. When somebody uses violent rhetoric to the point that it's pushing people to do horrible things, ICE under attack, 3 shootings here in Texas where I am in just the past few months, and just one yesterday. There are people who are targeting the right because the left rhetoric that comes out has been pushing this. You've got J.B. Pritzker in Illinois saying things like, bring your camera, get in their faces, block their way, protest ICE. And it's not slowing down, Judge. It isn't slowing down even a little bit. They're talking about we're kidnapping people off the streets, we're abducting people off the streets, we're stealing children and sending them away by masked ICE agents. When you've got such a movement on the left that's so violent in its rhetoric on the right, is any of that prosecutable? They are inciting things to happen. Can you do anything as a law enforcer?
Here's the issue. I mean, the First Amendment in this country it's an overall fundamental right that protects free speech, and it protects hate speech.
Right.
It protects hate speech, Joe. And I mean, there are major decisions, the Brandenburg decision, but when that speech moves people to violence, it moves them to incitement. There's got to be an act in addition to the speech, the classic yelling fire in a crowded theater, which causes people to act. That's when you cross the line. But there is no question a movement to demonize all of us on the right, to justify the violence against us, and whether or not we're Nazis and we're fascists and catch this fascist. It's a real problem. And I think we've got a younger generation that they have planted the seed for years, and now it is, they have cultivated it to the point where they're coming out and shooting and killing us. And that's something that's got to be reckoned with. But it's got to be reckoned with where either the law is changed or we recognize that it's not a crime until there is that actual incitement toward violence.
I guess the argument can be, and I'm not disagreeing with you, I agree with everything that you just said. You and I use our First Amendment in what we do for a living, or you did before this one, and certainly now in your job now, you're cracking down on crime. But the one thing, when you say you're a Nazi or Trump is Hitler, because if we went back to 1940, we'd be happy to see Hitler gone. We'd be happy to see Nazis gone. So when you make that parallel, you're literally telling these mush-mind young people, that is Hitler of today. You should do something. And I guess, it's such a slippery slope and a gray area. Is that incitement or not? I guess not. But I like that you said that maybe we should look at it and maybe see what the laws can do, because they are literally telling people go and shoot that person, and then they're doing it.
Question. They're literally saying with these labels that they should take action, and they're justifying it. And then, you see people like Luigi Mangione.
Yes.
All of a sudden, this guy's a hero. You're kidding me. He's a hero. There are people supporting him. He shot someone in cold blood in the middle of the day in New York City.
Yeah.
These people are criminals. They are animals. And as far as I'm concerned, we've got to do whatever we can to prosecute them within the law.
It is Judge Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. Judge, thank you so much for the time. Thank you for the years of friendship. We love you like crazy. Keep up the incredible work in D.C.
Joe.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
We're back after this. Stay right here.